Hello guys, welcome back. Sometimes you get video inspiration from the strangest sources. And I had to run through the gamut of human emotions before I could calm down enough to make a rational response video. But there are vibrant troll community on the interwebs. And someone had picked a video that was 99.9% me talking about needing a new roof and a computer to comment, why are you studying this? This isn't your culture. And I had just mentioned Papa Legba once. Okay. And this is the kind of troll I get on this channel. So of course I blocked them and I deleted their comment. And I knew they were just looking for a fight. They just wanted to cause problems and ruin my day. And the reason we actually study other cultures is because we want to live in peace with each other. And to live in peace with your next door neighbor, you have to understand their culture. Just because, and this would be extreme ignorance, just because you would walk through this town and see a bunch of white people, and white does not exist, by the way, it was a term used as a propaganda term, you would be missing all the unique cultures. Scandinavian friends have very different culture than my German, Italian, Polish background, and the Mexican Americans have different community and values and culture than, say, these people over here, and so forth and so on. And if you don't know anything about each other's culture, the worst thing you can do is, willfully not learn. Willful ignorance is bad. You have to learn about a people's culture. And I don't mean go on YouTube and find all the people from that culture screaming how they hate every other culture on earth. Those aren't the people you want to learn from. You want to learn from the people that will welcome you into their culture and say, this is what life is like in Ireland, this is what life is like in Wales, this is what life is like in Scotland, this is like life is like in Kenya, wherever you're interested in learning about. And if you feel attracted to a culture, you should learn about it. And there's a huge, huge, huge difference, guys, between learning about a culture or even working with the spirits or gods of that culture, if they call you, in cultural appropriation. One is following a genuine interest in a culture and working with gods that call you, and the other is just running in and grabbing something, not knowing the cultural value and keeping it because you think it looks cool. One is very childish, and one is a mature way to approach getting along peacefully. And I come luckily from an area, if you come from the Pittsburgh area, even out in the suburbs or even miles and miles away, that all the cultures learned that if they wanted to get along, we had to share. We had to share our cultures. So we have great festivals where, there's festivals for German culture and Polish and Italian. And you go to Kennywood and there will be days of like this culture or that culture or the other. And then you have the African American community and they're sharing their culture. And it's better to share. It's better to share our cultures with people so that they can understand us and understand what we take pride in. And you can have pride in your culture without being a racist. That's not true either. Just because somebody has cultural artifacts of their culture doesn't mean, oh, I hate all the outsiders. It means you take pride in your culture, but you may like other cultures too. My mother loved everybody from all over the planet. She probably should have been the next Dalai Lama. She loved everyone. I'm wearing one of her shirts today. I'm actually wearing one of her First Nation shirts, kind of see bear totem there. And she loved it. And I had a lot of friends from, the First Nations, and people in this area, were they pissed off their country got taken over? Kind of, but they knew that was in the long past, and they knew, if they wanted to preserve their culture, they had to share it with outsiders, or else it would disappear completely. So they would share stuff, and we would share stuff back and forth. I would teach them stuff from the Italian culture, which some of it's good, some of it's malicious magic. My grandmother passed on. Here's how you give people the evil eye. Grandma, no, you must learn to do this. Grandma! Like, all the magic in my family was bad magic. And I grew into a fluff bunny Wicca, so I'm sure that's part of the reason my ancestors don't talk to me, because it was all that kind of primitive, superstitious, really nasty magic. And I'm not, trying to say anything bad about my ancestors, but there's a difference between the witch's practice and what Christians practice, and I'm not trying to pick on Christians either, but with Christians, I've found they tend towards more malicious magic a lot of the time. Not all the time, there are some good Christian healers, but sometimes they tend towards that really vicious, primitive, I'm gonna get you magic. I told you about that guy that lived across from my grandmother, this supposed great Christian, and he had a book of witchcraft. It was written by the kind of witches that will teach you malicious magic and how to hurt people. And I'm like, that's been my experience because in my family they were like that too. Nobody was teaching me healing spells or anything else. It was all pretty malicious. But to get back to the culture thing, we have to share cultures because it's a healthy way of keeping our cultures alive and keeping them in the broader memory. There's a thing going on now, there's a kerfluffle going on now where some people are insisting that everything we know about First Nations culture is BS because they all deliberately told us lies on purpose, and we absolutely know nothing about them, but they're not going to tell us. And I'm like, well, if that is so, then your culture is going to die out, which it's not so because we know we have professors of, studies, and they come from these cultures themselves, and it's in their best interest to share the cultures and share it and keep the culture alive, because when you have a very tiny culture and you know there's a chance of your culture dying out, do you choose to share it or do you let the culture die with you? Because then when it dies forever. There's a good point in the Wolf book of when the Library of Alexandria died. We lost 500 years of human progress. We're actually 500 years behind where we should be right now because that library burned. So think of that. Whenever a culture dies out, we lose all that knowledge that that group of people worked for. And we're all the same species. It's not like I am this species, you are that species, that guy over there is that species. We're all the same species. We have very different cultures, but we can learn from each other. And I've never had a problem with if people are properly, truly called to a god. And only they can know that, of them working with a god. Now, they may find people are so hostile that it creates an environment that they can't work with that god anymore, but that's not on that individual. Sometimes you get so much static and so much blowback, you're like, you know what? I love you very much, but I have to walk away. And the gods understand. I've seen a lot of people chase people out. And I'm not a heathen, as we all know, kind of felt at that, but I've seen it happen among heathens too, where people will go in, and this is other heathens talking about these in these videos where, someone will be new to heathenry, be very excited and go in and greet everybody as their brothers and sisters, and they'll get viciously attacked and told, you're not my brother and sister, and then they stop working with the gods. So kind of the moral of this story is not only is it good to share culture, but it's also good to remember that people don't speak for the gods. I don't speak for Loki, and I don't own Loki. He's not my property because of my bloodline. I don't own Odin. I don't own any god or goddess. They're a god or goddess. We don't own them. They don't belong to us. They're not our personal property. We didn't get to put a stamp on them. I think if you tried to put a stamp on Odin or Loki, that'd be the last thing you do as a living mortal. But it's just some food for thought, and to remember when you encounter hateful people like that, those are the people that aren't interested in learning about other cultures, or they want to take whatever culture they think is theirs, and they could probably have a very unpleasant surprise if they had a DNA test, and keep it all to themselves. Well, that's how cultures die out. And we have to ask ourselves, do we want our culture to continue after we're gone? Or do we want it to die out? Like if I wanted to suddenly pass on pierogi recipes and stuffed peppers and all this other stuff that was passed down my family, I would have to teach you guys because I have no children. I have no one else to teach it, to pass it on to. I have friends in that, but nobody seems to be in a hurry for me to cook for them. So I'm like, if I had to teach someone to cook, it would have to be you guys. So it's a thing to think about because I can see as like the last kind of member of this branch of my family. Then that culture of my individual family is gone, and that doesn't get passed on. So we kind of have to think about that and remember that the people that are isolationists, that want to all be off among their own kind and everyone else can keep out, those are the people whose cultures will eventually die out. If you're a very closed, very secret society, you will eventually die out. So, I wasn't doing that to answer the troll, but I was doing that to answer all of you guys, because I've noticed it's growing and blowing up on the internet, where people are like, and I hate this, by the way, I hate this term, white birds with white birds, so forth and so on. And I don't agree with that, because it's not like all the people from Europe are one distinct culture, and it's not like all the people from one country are one distinct culture. And if you want to get that in volume, go on Reddit and make an ignorant generalization about somebody from some country, and you will get a lot of people from that country going, hey, wait a minute, just because I'm fill in the blank doesn't mean that I fill in the blank. So I hope that is some food for thought for you guys, and if you like what you see, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.